As part of our tour of Cardiff, we are going to meet Sister Hanan, and we are going to ask her how her journey to Islam started. Please join me. Sister Hanan, what is your story? What was your journey to Islam?
Assalamu alaikum. It's like we wind back now to the 90s, I suppose. And I had been to art college. I moved to Cardiff because I'd been here a few times and I liked it. I was very good for artists at the time. And
you were studying arts or you were practicing art?
Yeah, I had studied for 3 years in Devon. So I'm from Cornwall originally.
I did my A-levels in Cornwall.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Where?
1974 to 1976.
Whereabouts?
Redruth.
Oh, Redruth. See, that's where I went to college.
Cornwall Technical College.
Yeah, that's where.
So we went to the same college.
Yeah, but I was there. When was I there? Like 84 to 86.
That shows how younger you are than me.
Well, that's something to change. I was there doing just a basic BTEC in art. And then after that, I took a year out. I actually went to London. And then I went to Totnes because that's where I wanted to go, to Dartington College of Arts. And I must admit, religion didn't play any real part in my life. We just, when we were young, we went there, I'd like to say for funerals, but hardly, thankfully, I didn't really go to any funerals. I only went to my own christening, as far as I can gather. And then I moved to Cardiff. So then I was trying to practice as an artist, which is obviously very difficult. And I was just working part-time as well. I was on an enterprise allowance scheme, which shows my age as well. And then I started to think a lot about what's the purpose of life? Why are we here? And things started to seem a bit empty.
Any reason why you started thinking about that?
Not any event or anything. I think as like when you're by yourself more. So I was in my own flat, and you're doing art and things, and you're just looking a bit more inward. And also because you look outward into life, and I used to feel a certain amount of injustice in the world, which obviously there is, but you have no answers for it. So for people who are born Muslim, they can say there is a hereafter, and things will be sorted out because there's a divine justice. And when you don't have that, it's quite empty. It can be. I can understand. I wasn't depressed. Alhamdulillah, I'm not that kind of person. But I can see how people can get depressed, not having those kind of answers. So I had a friend who was Buddhist, and he said, he'd found something great for him, and he said, come to a Buddhist meeting. So I said, yeah, sure, and I did, and they were all chanting, but I didn't feel anything. I felt it was quite odd. And I was a real reader. I mean, astaghfirullah, nowadays we're so much on devices that we don't read as much, but I read a lot. And that's where you got information.
What were you reading?
Anything that I was interested in, I would go to the library and I would get it. So I was reading a lot into, I was into alternative therapies. So I'd gone onto an astrology course, and I was doing Tai Chi and yoga and meditation and those kind of things. I was looking into all those things. So I would read about it. So I'd try to read about, what is it? It's like Zen or things like that. And obviously those kind of things were kind of blowing my mind a bit.
You were experimenting with all of this.
Yeah, I was searching. I really was searching, and then at the same time, I was coming into contact with people from different countries, which you don't get really, in Cornwall, as you know, and in Devon at that time. And so I had Muslim friends. So I had a friend from Yemen, a friend from Pakistan, and I knew someone from Algeria. So they all sort of weren't very practicing, but they obviously were more practicing than somebody who had no religion whatsoever. And in Ramadan, I would see that they would change, so somebody said to me about the Quran. So I went to the library and I got a Quran. That was when I first came in about 1991, 92. And so I was kind of thinking, but I wasn't anywhere close. And then in the pivotal point, I think even before I left, I had a job, and then the job ended, and I wanted to travel, because by then I was in my early 20s, and I thought I didn't think if I don't go now I never will, but I doubt that I would have. I thought I can go now. I've got the money, but I didn't have anyone to travel with, so that was a bit daunting as a single woman. So I saw this is strange how it happened, but I saw a program about a kibbutz. And apologies to all Palestinians, because I didn't know about the Palestinian situation at all. I was completely ignorant.
When did you see that program?
So I saw. I was actually at my parents' house, so I didn't watch much television. I didn't hardly watch television. But then I was at their house, and there was a travel program, and they were like, "Oh, you can go on kibbutz. You can travel there alone, and you meet people from all over the world, and they pay you, but they pay you a pittance." And so I decided to go, and then I thought, "Oh, I'm going." I paid the money. I went to London. I had this sort of like meeting with all these other people. I didn't know anyone else who was going. I went to a place in London, I don't know if they still do that, where you all kind of meet and they tell you all about what's going to happen. But it wasn't that informative. Obviously, they didn't tell you about the plight of the Palestinians. So I decided to read. I just went to the library and I got books out, and I was like, "Oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? I can't." I felt really bad about going to this place now, but they wouldn't refund me the money, so I decided to go. And alhamdulillah, I think it was nobody has ever said to me then or now or since, any Palestinian person has never said you shouldn't have gone there, and alhamdulillah.
You were invited to go to the kibbutz.
Yes.
That is in occupied Palestine.
Yes. Yeah.
And you paid for your flight?
Yes, you pay for your flight, and then when you get there, it's free. So
they accommodate you.
The accommodation is free, and you work. That's part of it.
How long did you stay there?
I only stayed a month. A month was the minimum, and I knew I was going to be away for 3 months. That's what I planned, and because I didn't have a job, and I had someone looking after my cat and my flat and this sort of thing. So I wasn't living at home. So, it must have been very stressful for my parents, because this is before the time of mobile phones, and I just used to write letters home.
What motivated you to go?
I really wanted to travel. I wanted to see a bit more of the world. Yeah. And I wanted to go to India originally, but I thought if I go to India alone, I'm going to die, which I probably would have, because I got ill in Cairo. And I was with somebody then by that point. So anyway, it was not a great experience. Being there, but I met with other people who were also traveling alone, other women who wanted to travel. So another woman, we traveled. So we decided to travel throughout there. We were actually we were in the Golan Heights, because you didn't know where you were going to go. And you just ended up getting picked up off the airport and then just taken on a bus. I look back now and I just can't believe that I did that. I can't believe.
Were you expected to do something on the kibbutz, or?
Yeah, we worked in it. I was thinking, on the travel program, it looked lovely, beautiful weather, picking fruit. I actually worked in a Wellington boot factory, which was quite ironic because nobody wears Wellington boots in that area. Anyway, so we traveled. So we traveled then down from the Golan Heights. We made a plan for ourselves to continue down and then to go to Egypt. And so we took a month to travel throughout occupied Palestine, and we went to Jerusalem, which for me was the best place. We stayed in the Muslim Quarter, and it was everything that I expected I don't know, Arab sort of land to be, you know. And although it has all other different areas. And I went to obviously, you know, the holy site, and I wore a scarf, and I thought, out of respect, but I also, in my heart, I think I really wanted to become Muslim. But I wasn't ready, obviously, because I couldn't articulate that to anybody. Obviously, I have a little bit of regret. We're not supposed to have regrets as Muslims, but, you know, obviously that was a really amazing place.
So you connected your visit to Jerusalem with your past experience with the few Muslim friends you had here in Cardiff, right?
And the books I'd been reading.
And the books.
Yeah, I think I might have already been reading quite a lot by then. And I'd got to the tenets of Islam rather than what people were doing, because obviously Muslims, we shouldn't judge Islam by Muslims. We should judge it by the source. And so I hadn't probably read Hadith at that point, but I'd picked up books. I'd gone to the library, and I'd, you know, pretty much always in that section. But, you know, it's and I think there was one Muslim bookstore, but I can't remember if I went there before or after I travelled. And so I did have a feeling when they ushered us all out at the time of prayer, all the tourists, I really felt like, you can't get me. Do you know what I mean? Don't make me go.
That's in Al-Aqsa?
Yeah. But obviously, you know, they did, and I didn't do anything, and I didn't say anything. And then we travelled throughout, and I thought, oh, you know, we're going to go to Egypt next. It's going to be just like that. It's going to be just like Jerusalem. No, it's not. It was a bit sad, really. I don't know. I kind of, in retrospect, you know, there's nothing to have stopped us staying there a bit longer. But we had this plan, and obviously the person I was travelling with, she was just travelling. Mine was obviously more spiritual search. And you couldn't, you know, back then I wanted to read, I wanted to pick up books along the way in English and things, and I couldn't get any. And I talked to people, and I found the Palestinian people amazingly open and friendly, and nobody sort of was like, why are you here? What are you doing? And then so then we went to Egypt, and I got ill in Cairo, quite badly ill, like food poisoning, etc. But then we travelled throughout, and I came back. And yeah, it didn't put me off Islam, but I didn't have necessarily much Islam in that kind of journey, you know.
It just added a little bit probably to what.
Yeah, it's more cultural, isn't it? It's more a cultural experience, because we went to all things like the pyramids and, you know, this, you know, whatever. And we were traveling we were obviously mixing with a lot of, obviously with non-Muslims who were also on the traveling trail. Then I came back, and when I came back, oh, I've forgotten the most important part. Oh my goodness, I can't believe.
What was that?
Okay, the thing that really was a pivotal point was so I was still in occupied Palestine. We're in a wadi. I can't remember which exactly place it was. And my friend and I, we'd left our bags. Everyone said, oh, you know, go down, follow this trail. You know, they're really deep. It's a deep, dry riverbed. It's like the Grand Canyon, but smaller. And so we followed this trail, and they said, go down this trail, then go along a bit, and then follow another trail. There's markers just on stones. There's no big signs, and there's not any other people that we saw. We took our water, which was going to be for the couple of hours that we were there. We did it. And we got to the bottom, and we couldn't find any more trails, any more markers. And it was
So
hot.
You lost the way?
Yeah. We lost the way, no mobile phones. Nobody knew we were there. We were gone, because we checked out the youth hostel. So I am a bit of a panicker, and I knew. So this is what really shows you what my state of mind was, and my heart. And I started praying. Now I was an atheist, or an agnostic. I didn't really pray, and I started praying, you know, inside. I was like, God, please, oh Allah, if there's a God, you know, this is bad, you know, but, you know, Allah is most merciful. So I said, if there's a God, you know, if you're up there, you know, can you please save us, get us out of here? My friend wasn't panicking like that, but it was hot. We had a little water and nobody knew we'd gone, and we couldn't, they told us not to go up the way we'd came because it was further. So anyway, so I start in my head. I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be newspapers, and they're going to have this. They're going to like find these dead bodies, and we got our passports on us. I was proper like I was proper panicking, and then so then I was like, we can't keep wandering around at the bottom of this place. We didn't see anybody. Well, nobody. So we weren't really like on the edge of death, but the way I was feeling is that we had to go back the way we came. But it was steep, and it wasn't the way we were supposed to go back up. We were supposed to go another shorter way, because we couldn't even shout. No one was there. No one, and we could see where the place was that we should be, but we couldn't shout because they would have heard us. So anyway, so then we get to the top, and when we get to the top, we're out of water. It was to that point where I was looking at my friend taking water, and I was thinking, she's drinking too much. That is how thirsty that we were. So it wasn't a near-death experience, but for me, it was obviously, it showed that what do you do when you're in a sinking ship? They say there's no atheists in a sinking ship. So my atheism obviously was gone.
When people are in distress, they turn to
they
turn to Allah anyway.
So I did. So we got to the top. We had no water. We said to this, we saw somebody, and we were like, "Where's the water?" And he said, "There's water over there." So we just just really, really thirsty. So subhanallah. So I didn't, I didn't take my shahada when I was abroad. So I came back and I carried on reading, and I was getting closer and closer. And I think this struggle that you hear a lot with converts is that they rarely go, yes, all right, then I'm going to become Muslim. There is a certain, some days you feel strong, some days you feel
weak. It's not an easy decision.
No, it's a big decision. It's huge. And the thing is, obviously, what is going on there is Shaitan's like, one day he's like going, oh, you don't want to do that because you got to do this. And I didn't eat pork. I stopped drinking. I stopped going out. There was all these sort of different things that I was pulling away from. But it's still a huge step, and it's into the unknown, really. I'm just trying to think if I knew any converts, and I don't think I did.
You didn't know anybody?
No, I didn't. I think I might have seen people around, maybe, but you can't tell if people are white and wear a scarf. You can't always tell. They could just be, Syrian or something. So I in the end, I plucked it up. I was watching, I think I got some videos and things like that. And I was actually...
That was around the mid-90s?
Yes, it was. So I went in 94. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I converted in January 1995. So I was 25 years old now, believe it or not. And I said to I rang my friend who was a Yemeni, and I said, I want to take my Shahada. So I really plucked up the courage. And she said, are you sure? And I think that's really good advice, because people very often try to, dawah stands, etc., trying to get people to take their Shahada, maybe without realising the enormity. And it should be a one-way street. And I have known people who've taken their Shahada and then maybe they're not anymore and things. And we need support, and we need obviously help. So I said to her, no, don't put me off. I've been going through this turmoil for a long time now. So she said, okay, fine.
Yeah, for you, it wasn't a sudden thing.
Yeah, and she didn't know that I was feeling like this. I mean, she knew I was interested, probably. People knew because I'd asked a lot of questions and things, but they don't know the state of your heart and your mind. So she said, okay, I'll phone my uncle. He happened to be the Imam of the Yemeni, the masjid in Cardiff is one of the oldest, and the Yemeni one. So she said, okay, I'll make an appointment. So I went down with him the next day. I went to see him, I think, the next day. And I thought I was just going to kind of have a chat. And I think one of the other people you interviewed, I think it kind of sprung on them a bit quickly as well. And it resonated with me. So he talked. And then he said, so are you ready to take a Shahada? And I sort of went, okay. And then I must admit, maybe in hindsight, I should have said, oh no, let's do it.
How can one be ready?
Yeah, maybe that's the point. Maybe I would never have. Maybe that was Shaitan again, sort of going, well, you can just wait, or you just got this to. So alhamdulillah, I did, and then it begins, and then the journey begins, isn't it?
Tough one after conversion.
I think in hindsight,
First time.
yeah, I think, looking at the time it was, looking at the struggle that you have to even get the littlest bit of information, or, one person. And now I know why the Pakistani people weren't praying the same as the Moroccans, I know because of madhabs. I got a little booklet that the Imam gave me, and it had like a whole section of the prayer missing. And so alhamdulillah, obviously I got there in the end. And I think if you take that the beautiful saying, if you take one step towards Allah, He takes 10 towards you. Those kind of things are so true. They happen all the time.
You feel them.
Yeah, because when I was, like if you find something hard, you kind of put it off, and you say, I don't know how to pray. And I asked somebody to help me, and then she sort of couldn't, and then I just go along, say maybe 6 months, and I'm not praying, and then somebody said to me, "So are you Muslim or what? You're not praying," even though ironically they weren't. But anyway, and so then I went to the masjid. I just went to, because again, finding a masjid, finding a telephone number, someone to pick up the phone back then, it's not like now. And that's why I really...
it was probably a new phenomenon at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah. And also just because the mosques aren't always that good, or haven't been that good at getting themselves out there, making themselves accessible, answering the phone, helping converts, those kind of things. Those things are only just happening, and even not to the extent that they should.
Now, what was your family's reaction?
Alhamdulillah, I didn't live with my parents. My sister lived in Cardiff. My sister, I just went, I became Muslim. And she went, oh, cool. So chilled. So chilled. It's like the best reaction, really, that you can have from anyone. Because you don't want anyone being too, But
she wasn't curious?
Not really. I mean, she must have known that I was kind of on that path. But, subhanAllah, my sister became Muslim.
Subhanallah.
Yeah.
Long after, or?
Maybe we've forgotten. Me and her, when she converted. I remember it like it was yesterday. I could see it, I could feel it. It was beautiful, but we can't remember the date, which is really, really sad. But I would say maybe 5 years after, something like that. We were actually living close by. We were seeing each other all the time. Our children were living and growing up together. So alhamdulillah, she converted. I was so happy. And my parents, I don't actually know what they really felt.
They never told you?
No, I mean, they're very accepting, alhamdulillah. I never had anything bad happen. I know my dad wasn't particularly happy about the scarf, probably still isn't actually. But he's got used to it obviously now, he's had to. And they I think because you're not living with them. And when I went to Cornwall, I would find it a bit awkward, I'd still cover, but it was because you're the only, I feel like I was the only one. And then people thought I was Bosnian, and somebody asked if I was a nun, that kind of thing. So I got kids. How does that work?
Cornwall traditionally didn't have a sizable Muslim community. No. There were just a few students here and there.
That's right. Yes, right. And I think I met a couple of Iranians down in Cambourne. That's it. And back then, nobody really spoke about these things. Now,
your family, what is their background? Catholic or Protestant?
Protestant, but my dad is an atheist, unfortunately. But my mum was much more kind of accepting of it, and she, I would talk about Jesus, and I would always ask them, do you think he's God? And they would say no. I was like, great. Alhamdulillah, we're on an even thing here. But obviously, previous to that, we never had any discussions about religion. They say don't talk about politics and religion. So after that, obviously, we have had
the golden advice given to people everywhere.
Yes.
Exactly. No religion, no politics, and no women.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's that as well. Yeah.
Because they always cause controversy.
Absolutely. But we have had those since, and I still pray that they will, inshallah, convert. They live up the road, actually. You could ask them how they feel. But I think now they're 2 daughters. There's only 2 children are converts, are Muslim, and they're obviously their son-in-law is now, and I have 4 children and 1 grandson, and there's all his family as well, and we all celebrate Eid together. It's so beautiful. My parents celebrate with us, and they always have, actually. I said when I first converted, I was a bit zealous. as is the way.
You wanted them also to join.
I was like zealous for myself, for everybody. I was like, I'm not celebrating birthdays with my children. I'm not celebrating Christmas, all that, which is embarrassing now because I've obviously relented a bit on that. And obviously you should be much more gentle towards your family.
You need to keep being attached to them. Otherwise, how are you going to expect them to come closer to you?
I think we do that, converts, because we want to be really good. Like we want to make sure we're doing everything really right, but we should be in the middle. We shouldn't be either extremes.
Well, Sister Hanan, it's really been very interesting hearing you talk about your journey to Islam. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.